Plus it was in color, and I don't generally watch.
Okay, I'm gonna start, it's gonna be recording now, just so you know, everybody knows.
All right.
We're recording. Particularly over the last.
Didn't say it, that's weird, but it is, okay.
He started showing all these movies.
Not a lot.
70s and 80s and 90s. And it was just that are in common. I'm not interested. Yeah, absolutely. Very, very much. Do you have a favorite? Wow. I was just, that is just about my favorite. It's all.
Yeah.
I'm crazy bunch. I mean, a movie, you know, a movie with a line like that in the script that sounds plausible. It's just good. Another line from Double.
I have to go back and listen to all of them.
Steve Brown.
Trevor McMurray was born.
We used to have,
Bad guys. And
during the pandemic,
you know,
being in a large school district, and we'd have to lead like meetings with all the schools online. Which I think 40 schools online,
Well,
like elementary, middle school, high school.
he was the cop.
This, and then you'd see kids online, all like 20,000 kids online, or whatever, going to virtual classrooms. The stuff that we saw, because in Washington, we were closed.
She hit him with her first.
18, like below, like 18 and like he was white, was like we married her years ago. And the stuff that we saw, if I could write a book, honestly, that it was just like
Teachers and students.
teachers. And a person will go on, he was a bunch who was trying to be a principal, who got caught in Egypt. Like he was, like, God in Egypt was in there while he was doing stuff and pretending like he was.
Hi, Jody.
in coma.
Crazy.
I can't read.
Well, you got caught.
And then he got, are you?
That is fun.
But some of the stuff we actually thought
He was
was,
assistant.
I don't see, everyone see that.
Yeah, wow, interesting.
A lot of meetings.
So that you see, you'll see.
Yeah.
Cut it back.
Did you kind of have like a Zoom live going all the time somewhere?
All the time.
Yeah.
Or like on a big TV or
Yeah,
something?
so that's why I think we're gonna get PTSD because it's for a year and a half. It was like I had two monitors and my phone and you're like, where are you at? What school are you at?
Yikes. Yeah.
It's not good for kids, they're all sporty.
No,
Yeah.
there's a chocolate chip on the bottom. Oh, there's some peanut butter.
I thought that was the candy.
Oh, you really did.
They're eating chocolate chip cookies.
Yep.
No, I am not.
Oh, that's what I thought.
$159.
All to the good. Well. This is really a good peanut butter cookie.
Hi, Christine.
Hey,
To
Christy.
be commended.
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Okay, thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
Want to give a few more?
Let's see, who do we just have? Dave Barker? Dave Barker is the only one we have.
Have you heard from Dave? Walker? Okay.
Yeah, one.
See,
Yeah,
A
so I
few
think,
days.
I think you can get started.
We can start.
Yeah, sure. 2:00.
Okay.
2:01.
I call this meeting to order. We are here at the work session for the Board of Directors for Wednesday, June 10th. Are you ready to call roll?
I am.
Thank you.
Candy English.
Here.
Steve Reynolds.
No.
Christy McHugh is here. Lanny Smith.
Here.
Jody Walker.
Present.
Nellie Johnson.
Here.
Dave is not here, right?
Correct.
Bart Hillier.
Here.
Chris McCrummon.
Present.
Barry Stock.
Here.
Scott Summers.
Okay, thank you, Christy. Before we get started, in order to make sure that we are being efficient and keeping our time under control, any comments that you have, if you can just limit them to 2 comments, I'd appreciate that so we can hear from everybody. And now I'd like to move on to amend approved agenda.
So moved.
Do I have a second? Jody seconded. Okay, so we will move on with our agenda has been.
We got a vote.
Oh, golly, I forget that.
I'll vote.
Okay, sorry. All right, all in favor of approving the agenda, please raise your hand. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think that's unanimous.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, on to discussion of the CPM 1.1.6 limit MCF refunds to original fee paid, presented by Mr. Dave Dixon, our CFO.
Okay, so I wanted to give a little bit more context on the background on this because originally when I first dove into it, it was just to understand.
Lanny has a quick question.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Are you posting any of this online? Because we can't see anything. Is there anything up on?
I didn't pull it up online, but I can. I have the staff report here. So let me share my screen.
Thank you.
Sure. Sure. Okay. So, this is what was mailed out to
Thank you.
everyone. Sure. I just wanted to kind of walk through this a little bit on exactly kind of what led me down this path. And really it was looking at the variance on our MCF revenue and to budget. And that's what kind of got me asking questions to Chris Savicki and getting some lessons from her on the history and all of the different items that were with that. And one of the items that I kept going back to was the refunds and it being at 100% of what people are currently paying. And so I was talking with her because these are administratively heavy to process. And so that's where I kind of was looking at it with different scenarios. And one of the things, so that's why I went with the 3 different scenarios. But in doing so, when we did the analysis, and I guess I'll show that now. I'll pull that up. And this was the refunds through April. There were 35 of them, and these are.
Which you have to stop showing and then reshow.
Oh, dang it.
Yeah.
Stop share.
Yeah.
And share my other screen. Thank you. This one right here. You guys will have to forgive me for being new to all of this screen sharing on the different items. But so when I was looking at this, the thing that I kept going back to was that, some of the people that were getting refunds hadn't contributed anything originally when they bought in. Likely the builder paid that upfront,
Okay.
and that's why they weren't charged anything if they were the first owners of that property, because that's, I guess, what some of the builders were
Mhm.
doing. But then like the people who bought in 2004 that paid $468, they were getting back the 3,200 for that. So really, I started to look at it a little bit differently on a fairness issue. Of, is it fair for the people that bought years ago being long-term members versus not long-term members, or the ones that are just buying in now? And I went back and forth on it, and I understand you guys have a history of looking at this differently in the past. So that's why I'm trying to look at it at a different angle and have everybody think about it a little bit differently than maybe we have in the past. And that's just on a fairness issue of our value continues to get better as we've grown and expanded. So we have more services now than likely we did back in 2004 or prior to that. So that's where, when we were looking at it internally with Chris and the accounting staff, we landed on scenario one would probably be most reasonable and the fairest for everyone to go through. So that is what I was looking at. Now, is it gonna solve the shortfall for what we budgeted? No, but that's not really the objective here. It'll help. But it's just pretty much in my mind to treat all the members fairly from when they buy in or not. So in the new scenario, if they paid in $1,000, or we'll use a real number here. Let's say they bought in 2016, paid 24.25. They're going to get charged the 3,200, and they would apply for their refund, and they'd get 24.25 back from that versus the 3,200. And just using that scenario with the 35, then we would have on that, we would have paid out or we would have saved $30,000 on that instead of the 110,000. So that's where the scenario one, to change the MCF refund limit to the original MCF fee paid. That is what we're looking to do, or make a motion on. What? Yeah.
Yes.
So I had drafted an email back to Director Reynolds that hopefully you've all had a bit of an opportunity to look at. But there is some history there on the MCF fee. It actually used to be called the Property Acquisition Capital Fee. We called it the PACFA. Now it's the MCF. But this has been an ongoing debate, discussion, coming at it from multiple different angles. I think probably Kathy Bachelor knows that more than maybe anybody in the room, as well as Bart Hillier. This is coming at it from a little bit different of an angle. I will say staff have had these internal discussions about, even though these people a member may be paid $500, for example, when they originally bought into GVR, and then they sold their property and bought another one, should they therefore be entitled to receive the full refund of the title or the MCF fee that they just paid. And as I said in my email to Steve, the answer is yes, that's what the policy is. That's been the practice. That's been the will and the pleasure of previous boards before this board. Again, I think a lot of that is encapsulated from this philosophy of previous boards and certain board members that fee is a one-time entrance fee to the club, so to speak. And therefore, you wouldn't, for example, be charged an additional fee at a later time because you never left the club. So once you're in, you're in. And I'm kind of trying to extrapolate, and my belief is that that's what other board members before you, what their kind of thought and philosophy and their thinking was about the purpose and intent of that fee, originally. I shared in that email too that we've done a lot of research previously about these types of capital initiation fees. Other organizations have them. With a few exceptions, most similar organizations don't provide refunds by following the same policy that GVR does. And I think that's why we've had the discussions and the debates with the Fiscal Affairs Committee and other committees and the board on if we want to continue providing the refund as an organization, under what circumstances do we want to continue providing the refund? The cost of providing the refund compared to, say, the cost of dues increases every year. Off the top of my head, I think last year when we looked at this, if the refund was to be eliminated, that would have in the future saved an increase of $22 in dues increases per member. So it's pretty significant. But again, there's a lot of passion, I think, around this particular topic because a lot of people absolutely believe this is a one-time buy-in fee to GVR, and therefore you shouldn't be charged an additional fee at a later time. And so again, our practice at the staff level has been to follow the policy, the will and the pleasure of the board. That's been the practice. So I just wanted to provide a little context and background. I really do appreciate that we're having this conversation again and coming at it from a little bit different of an angle. And I absolutely think it makes sense. And it is kind of hard to pay back a full refund of, say, $3,200 when that member, for example, maybe didn't pay an initial member change fee, or they paid $498 initially. So I do support this. I think the finance staff, the membership staff think this makes sense. We think this is a fairer way of applying the policy going forward. So this is a work session to talk about it, to hammer it out, to see what the feel and the tone is of the board, and if we want to move this discussion to the board meeting June 24th.
Bart has a comment, and then Lanny.
Thanks. Thanks, Candy, and thanks, Scott. I want to make a couple of points. Number one, Dave mentioned that these people who are at zero, which is a grand total of 3 of these people, apparently the builder paid it. Well, the guy who bought the house paid it. It was built into the price of his house, but it's not like, it fell from heaven. I mean, he paid it as part of the purchase price of his house. And Scott said that some board members in the past took the view that he described, which I think his description of that view was pretty accurate. But I'd like to point out that it was a majority of the board. It wasn't just, the random nitwits on the board. It was a majority of the board that voted to change. I won't comment on that. But so to me, it's just it is a matter of simple equity. My view of the initial fee is pretty much what Scott said. This is your initiation fee into the club. you'll note on this list that, there's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that are, that stand out. 0, 0, 0, 468, 995. I mean, they stand out because they are significantly different from the fee that's being assessed now. But you look at the rest of these fees, and they're not that far off what we're charging now. I mean, we're charging 3,200, and I think the lowest that I saw here was what, 2,260, and most of them are a lot closer to. There's one at 1,000, but to me, it's just sensible. Okay, you paid your initiation fee back when. Are we going to give them interest on when we refund that initiation fee that they paid back in 2024 or 2023 or whenever, or 2019 or 2016? Are we going to give them any interest on that? Obviously we're not. We're just going to give them dollar for dollar for whatever they paid back then. So to me, it is more sensible just to keep the policy where it's at. I will very confidently predict that if we change the policy from where it's at right now, we're going to have vast pushback from the people involved. At least I believe we will. The grand total in difference is, as I look at your chart, Dave, is about $30,000. If we had refunded original fees instead of the current fees that these people are paying, differential $30,000. $30,000 is not to be sneezed at, but in a $12 million a year organization, it's not a gigantic sum of money either.
Right, and just remember, this is 4 months, so.
We could have saved that just by not hiring Terry Glass, but I won't even get into that. My inclination is just to keep it the way it is.
Lanny?
I think we're gonna need to expand that. I know he's getting on the C-Land.
Thank you. Yeah, so FAC, this year's FAC, when Dave brought this to our attention, the FAC was in favor of recommending the change to the board, and that's why Dave is bringing it to you today, because he does have the backing of the FAC. And I'll let Nellie speak to last year's FAC, who actually looked at eliminating the refund completely as a cost saving measure, but I'll let Nellie speak to that. I think, Scott, you raised an interesting, there's policy versus practice. And I don't think our practice has ever been truly defined. I think it's been left up to you and to management and to the various boards to determine what that practice will be. And I think that's where we find ourselves today, in less about a discussion about policy, but the refunds. I think we all agree that should be there. What I think the bigger discussion is the practice. What does that look like? So when I sell my home and I meet all of the criteria to receive a refund, do I receive current day refund, or do I receive the refund that at the buy-in stage? And I think that's the point in front of the board. And I think, Bart, to your comment, in the grand scheme of things, $30,000 isn't a big deal, or I think Dave is projecting $100,000. I don't think it's a matter of the cash. It's the matter of the practice of the policy. So that's where I'm at, and I'm supportive of Dave's proposal that we formalize the practice that the refund that you receive is the refund that is equivalent to your buy-in fee. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Yes.
I did just want to clarify, I really don't think that we just had nitwits on the board before.
I didn't say that.
Okay, good.
I didn't, I mean, your implication was that it was a few board members somehow managed to push this through. That's not true. I mean, that was a pretty solidly supported
Yeah.
initiative.
And that wasn't my implication. My email clearly said that previous boards had supported maintaining the policy. Otherwise, I don't think we'd be having this discussion because the policy would have been changed. This is what, the second or third time different boards have discussed this. So I'm well aware of previous boards upholding the existing policy.
Okay, this, Barry did have his hand up, right? And then Nellie? Barry?
Well,
Oh, Nellie, go ahead, Nellie. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. Well, as Lonnie has commented, the FAC did look at this last year. Actually, the issue that Dave brings up with regard to which payment you paid off of didn't come up during our discussions. We were really looking at it when the staff brought forward what were known as revenue enhancements, because we were concerned about the overall funding model of GVR, and we looked at this as an opportunity to capture some savings. So I appreciate Dave's second look at how it was actually kind of administered, and I do support the change. I do think, however, it's important to note that the savings that we estimated last year was $300,000 on an annual basis, which is about 100 refunds. So when we look at it, this impacting a vast majority of GVR households, it really doesn't. It was 100 refunds a year. And so when you look at our quarterly estimates through April, we're basically right on target. We're at 35 compared to 37 where we would normally be. So the issue of in the narrative, I think needs to be, my question to Dave, is the issue of home sales. The home sales, I don't think the home sales overall are down from what I understand and listening to the FAC, but it's not down due to the refunds from my standpoint, because we're at 35 compared to 37. We had assumed 100. I believe we're down because of the overall home sales are down, and we're projected through the year through April, $300,000 on our operating budget. So, and that's an important thing for the finance and for the FAC and for the board to really look at. So it'll be good to look at this month's financials of where the home sales are going. So the point is, this is not a refund in my mind issue. You're really trying to capture savings where we can capture savings from a legitimate practice standpoint, and I do support that. But we have a bigger issue as it relates to the overall home sales declining because of just the marketplace and a number of other conditions, which should be an important issue for the FAC to continue to look at and for us to look at in the future. Thank you.
Thanks, Nellie. Barry?
Thank you. As a member of the FAC, I just want to add to Lanny's comments that when we discussed it at the FAC, I think most of us were, at least I was too, I was surprised, since I'm a relatively new member, that the way we were applying things. And it was unanimous of the FAC to support the change here being proposed today. And I just want to say, I also support it.
Thank you. Jody?
Yeah, well, Dave, thank you for looking at this with the new set of eyes and bringing this to the forefront, because without this data and this chart, we realized that we were giving people, they were making money off of us. They had paid in less and we were paying them more. And I don't think anybody should do that. I fully support this, and I fully support keeping the member change fee. I know that's not on the table to take it off, but I think doing it at what somebody did on initial buy-in absolutely is something we should do. It's very reasonable. Most everybody's going to say, yeah, that makes sense. And I say we bring it on the 24th, vote on it and initiate it ASAP and stop paying out money to somebody that didn't pay the full price. Thank you.
Okay, I've heard from everybody except Chris and Christie. Do you guys have anything to add?
I think it makes perfect sense.
Okay. As a realtor, what are you noticing?
Well, I mean,
Right. The home sales are down. That's a different topic.
Okay,
This is specific to people who are moving to different locations within GVR deeded homes, right? So, if somebody moves here new, we're already telling them that's going to cost them $3,200 to join the GVR, and they make arrangements with the sellers if they don't want to pay that, or if they don't want to pay the whole amount. From my perspective, I don't know how many people know that there's a refund to be had if they move from one home to another. So I don't know how widely this is communicated to people who are moving within GVR areas. If it is, as a realtor, I have no problem communicating to people that they'll get a refund for their initial home purchase, and then they'll pay the $3,200, and so they'll pay the $3,200, they'll get the refund for what they paid initially when they purchased their home, and the difference is the difference in moving from, the difference in however long they've been here, right? And from my perspective, our dues are artificially low. So I don't see where this is a difficult conversation to have it from a real estate perspective at all.
okay. Thank you, Christie.
Thanks, Brian.
Okay.
I don't want to muddy the waters, but I just want to point out, it did hear you say that this is administratively heavy. You use some kind of term there, these fees. So I think that's just another cost. It's not in here. But when we think about overall costs in our entire budget and cost of manpower and working hours, this is also administratively heavy on top of just the fees. So there is another impact as well in terms of how much people have to work on this stuff. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. I'm in support of option one. I just wanted to be clear that you did say that it was administratively heavy, and so therefore that is another cost that we don't see here.
Yeah, and that was another reason why I looked into it,
Thank
because
you.
of that.
Thank you for looking into that. Thank you.
Okay. Can I ask Kathy Batchelor, do you have anything you want to add?
Oh, yeah, a lot.
Okay, I don't know if I want to hear a lot, but,
Yeah, I'll try to.
okay.
I'm gonna sit here only so I can be heard on the microphone. Bart and I don't agree very often.
Is it on?
It's on.
Thank you.
Bart and I don't agree very often, but thank you for speaking up because I agree with you 100%. I looked at this and I thought, if we take this people who bought a home in 2000, there was no member change fee at that time. Had there been, they would have paid it. They would have been required to pay it. So let's take a look at when they came here and bought a house in 2000, they were probably 60 years old. 25 years later, they're 85 years old. They're probably, I don't know 85-year-olds that will upgrade at that point in their life. They're going to be downsizing. So they didn't pay a member change fee other than what was tacked on to their purchase fee from the developer. However, they've lived here for 25 years. They've probably been involved with GVR for 25 years. And now in my scenario, the husband has probably passed away. The wife has now had her income cut half. She's trying to downsize. If I might ask the question at a later point, Dave, how many of these are downsizing people? However, let me finish on this particular point. So she's trying to downsize. So what we would be saying to them is, oh, we missed you first time around. Now we're going to slap you with $3,200 on your way out. Unfair, totally unfair, my way of looking at it. But I'd like to point out a couple of things that happened. We did discuss this 8 months ago, and the board did say, no, we're not going to change it. However, if you look at 3 years ago, and Bart, you will probably remember this, We had a very large contingent of realtors come to that board meeting. And they said, we have clients who are investors who are not being allowed to transfer their primary home to their primary home, get that reimbursement. We don't know what to tell them. Those realtors are the first line that gets the hate and discontent, the very first line. They're not going to come to the administration office. The first time they're going to hear about it is from the realtor. And the realtor's not going to be able to answer that question. Well, why are they taking that much money from me now? I paid it when I came in. I agree with that. It was a one-time fee. Nobody said, oh, okay, well, you're going to pay this one-time fee, but if you should ever sell your house and buy a different one, you're still a member, but you're going to pay more. I think that's totally unfair. They already paid what was required of them. So the realtors they're going to say to the realtor, well, why are they doing this? And the realtor is going to say, I don't know. I have no answer for you. Makes the realtor look really bad because they don't know. Second question is going to be, well, if they're charging me more, what am I getting for it? Not a thing. Nothing changes. You're just paying more. I don't look at this as a loss of $30,000 or for the first quarter because you have already paid your initial fee when you bought your home. This secondary $3,200 fee this year when you're selling it and buying a new home is only being paid by you because their title company is required to collect it from you. That is the fee you're trying to get back because you are still a member. You paid what was due at the time that it was due. And now we're looking at charging a small segment of members to make up some amount of money for the overall. If you take this $30,000 that's on this sheet and you divide it by 14,000 member households, you get $2.17 dues increase. It's much more palatable to members to pay that than $1,000, $2,000, $3,200 because you got away with it the first time around because you didn't know it was going to happen. You paid for it with your purchase price. You didn't know it was going to become an issue, but now it is an issue. I congratulate you, Dave, for looking at it with a different perspective, but there's a whole lot of history here. When those realtors came to us 3 years ago, none of us knew why prior boards had set that criteria for the investors. None of us even knew when it took place. I still don't know the answer to those two questions. But the boards that were in charge at that time, they apparently had a good reason for doing what they did, or they wouldn't have done it. At least the majority of that board would not have done it. We're looking at the same type of thing here. Don't try to make up money on a small group of people because they're going to come back and bite you in the rear. And a very big, because those realtors are going to be back in that board meeting saying, we have no answers for these people. Tell us why you're doing this. And the board members are going to have to come up with an answer for that because the board members are the ones that are going to take the action to change it. So you have to have a really good answer for all of that. And I think that's it. I really would hope that you would rethink voting this in because I think you're going to live to regret it. I really do. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy, for your comments. Dave, did you want to respond? Did Kathy have a question for you?
I'd just like to say, that you have assumptions in yours and ours is strictly just the data. So we almost have to remove those assumptions because we don't know that it's people downsizing or upsizing, one or the other.
How many are downsizing, Dave?
We wouldn't know that based on any of the data that we get. We'd have to study where they left and where they moved. And it's already, like I said, an administrative burden on the staff to do all this processing. So my point was more of lowering the outgoing of funds, Because that's, at the end of the year, I'm thinking, am I gonna have enough operating funds to cover all of our expenses? So that's another avenue to look at. But I don't think it's unfair, in my opinion, even after hearing what you had stated. But that's just, again, my opinion. So.
Okay, I don't know, Jody was first or you, Scott?
Go ahead,
Doesn't
Julie.
matter. Just go ahead, Scott.
All right. I just wanted to clarify. I'm a little uncomfortable, honestly, with the conversation. Dave's been here a couple months. I'm the CEO and the buck stops with me. Whether you're unhappy or you're happy with this recommendation, it wouldn't have come forward if I wasn't supportive of it. So I'm the one that pushed this forward. So it's a little uncomfortable when we start making things personal and, hey, thanks, Dave, for doing this, or I don't agree with you, Dave. This isn't about Dave. And I understand we want to be personal and get to know each other a little bit. But a lot of us have been here before. We've been out on a limb before and have had that limb sawed off. It's really uncomfortable. And I'm going to make sure I keep protecting this guy and my staff. So if anybody in this room is here unhappy about what's going on, you can blame me for that.
Okay, so I have a basic question, and this might be so simplistic, but that's my background. Back in 2000, or the times when these people bought homes and had no fee associated with it because the contractor paid it, is there a way to find out what that fee was and apply it to them because they paid it to the contractor, and then subtract that amount from the 3,200? So at least they would get back what they probably paid to the contractor. I think it's just very simplistic and reasonable. Okay, it doesn't show you paid a fee, but you did with the contractor. So a fee was paid. This is what we got. Are you following me? So I just think that would be a simpler way of doing it, but I totally disagree with the other thought. I think this is only reasonable that they get back what their initial fee was and not above and beyond. If somebody paid 1,500, they shouldn't be able to walk away with 1,700 out of our pocket. It's just my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, Lanny.
Yeah, thank you, Candy. I just want to echo Scott's comment regarding singling out an individual. This was the FAC should also be singled out because we made the recommendation for the change based on research that was brought to us by management. So we, as Barry said previously, we considered it, we thought about it in the interest of fairness and fairness of practice. We fully supported the recommendation being brought forward by management, and thank you.
Thank you. Nellie?
Yes, I think in the report, in the work session and going forward to the board, it would be good to know, we're talking about a savings for 4 months at being at 30,000. What's the annual savings for this alternative scenario one? And if that could be addressed at the board meeting, because I think that would be a question that would be asked. So I don't think it's just 30,000. I think it's larger, larger than that if you carried it through the entire year. And then there's also been points raised with regard to the administrative cost of the program being high. And so we're looking at approximately 100 refunds. Do we know what an estimate of the administrative costs are for this program? Because we're trying to cover it in scenario 2 and 3. It's mentioned as one of the reasons.
I don't think we do. I think we need to quantify that.
Okay, thank you. I think that would be helpful. Appreciate it.
Okay, any more comments from anybody?
One more quick one.
Okay. Make it quick.
All right, very quick. Yeah, a few months ago, when there was a proposal to pretty substantially restrict how many people could come in on an annual guest pass. I said repeatedly,
Remember that?
both at BAC and at the board meeting to vote on it, that there was going to be a lot more pushback on that than I think most board members anticipated. And as it turns out, that indeed was the way it shook out. There was a lot of pushback. I think that I will confidently say that there will be more pushback than we realize. Whether it's going to be as much as there was on the annual guest pass thing, I don't know. But there will be more pushback than you realize. That's it. Thank you.
Scott?
I wanted to, I agree with that 100%. There's going to be there's always pushback. Christy had pointed out that the dues were artificially low, and ever since the housing sales have begun to decrease, we've been beating this drum about how, here's an example, very real example of how GVR has become overly reliant on an unstable revenue source with housing sales. And just looking at this chart, I mean, some of these are zero, but you can see the ones that aren't zero. Back in 2004, the fee was $468. Back in 2005, the fee was $955. In our budget document, we've been able to show and quantify and chart how the membership fee has increased significantly at a greater rate than the member dues fee. And you can see clearly the cost of doing business has shifted more and more towards the member change fee and away from the dues fee. What you're discussing here is all about policy. The cost of doing business, really is going to stay the same. I think we, through the FAC and the board, staff have done a pretty dang good job at trying to keep our costs down, become more efficient organizations, moved our healthcare plans over to healthcare savings accounts, gone out for bids for, my gosh, commercial insurance is ridiculous. I think we've done a lot of our due diligence to do what we can on the expenditure side while still meeting our mission as an organization. The policy question here then is, where's the revenue going to come from? Or are we going to really take a look at the services and the facilities that we're providing? Is it time that we have that deeper discussion? And maybe that is part of the discussion that we've already kind of started and danced around, which is, do we start closing facilities? Do we start closing pools? And I think that's a bigger discussion that we're going to have during the strategic plan. But if you want to keep funding the pie as it is, you gotta make sure that you've got the revenue sources to be able to do it. And right now, I don't think you have the revenue sources to do it. We're concerned. And so if you're not going to find it in the member change fee refunds, you're going to have to find it in either dues or cutting services.
Anybody have anything else? Okay. No final comments? Are we done discussing? I think there's probably more to think about. I'll have a comment. Boy, I agree and I disagree. On the one hand, what people pay in is what they should get out. I see that as an equity issue, and I think Dave is trying to see that as an equity issue, and I think maybe we should look at that on what's being fair and equitable. But I think it's also important that we look at the regular member and what happens with the regular member, because I think sometimes the board makes decisions and we forget how it affects individual people and members. So that's the only thing that I want to talk about well, kind of want to talk about it. Just the only thing I want to comment is that I think sometimes I know in my experience here where I've made a decision that I thought was the right one, and then it turns out to be the wrong one because we didn't ask enough members about it. So that's the only thing I have to say. I'm kind of torn between which way to go at this point. But anyway, I just think we need to think about some things a little bit more before we vote in 2 weeks. That's all.
Yeah, follow-up question on that. Is this going to the board meeting in 2 weeks? We haven't scheduled it. And I'm inclined to put it on. At the same time, I don't want staff to be the scapegoat of why did you even put this on? So I'm curious if there is consensus or at least a straw poll from the board on, is there a majority in this meeting that says, yeah, let's add it to the agenda? So for
I'd
those
like to
that,
add it to the agenda.
okay, one,
That's the
two,
question.
yeah,
Yes.
who's willing to add this? I mean, do we want to add this to the agenda? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7. All right, well, that's a majority. Thank you. I appreciate that. My previous organization, we used to have actually council members that would say, I'll take it to the board meeting. And then they would be the responsible for the motion and everything, but at least the ownership was there. I'm not suggesting we do that, but I do appreciate that you've enlightened me here a little bit. Thank you.
Okay, Lanny.
Yeah, Scott, I think as a general rule, chair of the FAC would bring it forward.
Right. That's right.
So I would more than, absolutely, I would bring it forward.
Thank you for clarifying. That is a good point. Thank you.
Thank you, Lanny. Chris.
I really appreciate this discussion and hearing everybody's sides and opinions and thoughts. I do want to emphasize the thoughts that were brought up about bringing even more data. It might be conjecture, but our best guess is for a year of this. I know that wouldn't be 100% spot on, but put a projection of 1 year, but also the administrative costs. And I think that's just another data point to say these are all the costs within this. There's a lot more cost than just refunding $1,700 or $1,600. So I think the more data and the brought forth is best.
Okay.
I have a question.
Christy. Wait a second, Laney. Christy.
I'm curious about the costs because from what I'm understanding, the decision is not, do we do refunds or do we not do refunds? The question is, how much of a refund does the person get? So how are the costs relevant? Because we aren't talking about eliminating cost.
That's a good point.
Oh, my goodness. Live, everybody. Okay. So I think it was Lanny, and then I don't know who's after Lanny.
Yeah, I have a question for management. Do we not already charge an administration fee of $425?
75.
That's
The second time?
Yeah, it's a transfer fee. Correct.
So doesn't that cover the
That's
work?
different. Okay, thank you.
I would think so. I don't know if that was, the intent of that, so.
Sorry?
I don't know if that was the intent of that, so that would be an answer for a question that I have to get an answer from others on that.
Because I was always under the assumption that was to cover our cost of issuing the refund.
So maybe the administrative burden, it's not gonna change.
I don't think it is.
Yeah.
Well,
so-
I think to Christie's point, whether it's $2,900, $3,200 or $500, it's the same amount of work that has to go into it, maybe even more because you have to do the research of when they purchased the house.
That's right.
So
Agreed.
it's, I think it's a wash at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And And then we're put in the position of trying to explain, well, what's the 425 or $450? Like, what's that for? I think you might be going down a rabbit hole that we may not want to go down.
Okay.
Okay.
As far as trying to justify it from an administrative task perspective, which is different from the policy.
I agree. Thank you.
Who's next? Barry.
Yeah, I want to echo the same points. I agree. The costs that we brought up for administering this are irrelevant because I agree with Lanny. We have that other fee that was to cover the administrative costs. And by the change in administering the policy, isn't going to result in any significant staff savings or reduction in staff. So I don't know why we're even talking about it.
Okay. Well, it was good we talked about it. Jody?
Yeah, a real quick question, and I don't want to open up a can of worms, but I probably am. Why are we charging $3,200 for a member change fee? I thought the member change fee was to cover administration costs of changing the title, not the title, but from one person to the next. So why do we have a $3,200 price tag on that? I don't understand, because I was not here what the history when it all started, so I need to know.
It's essentially, Jody, it's essentially a capital fee. It's basically a buy-in fee that was originally designed to help cover improvements, capital costs, initiative costs. And it's morphed over the years into where 80% still goes towards operational costs and only 20% goes towards capital costs. So again, we're relying on 80% of that to cover our daily operations.
Well, it sounds like in the future, we might need to look at the CPM because the way we're funding things is just a simple CPM change. And in the future, how we are paying for stuff and stop relying on too much of this. I mean, I could be wrong. I think it's just off the top of my head. I might be wrong.
Okay. Are we done? We think with discussion? Barry?
Yeah, I mean, that discussion about our revenue sources and streams is something we seriously need to discuss when we are getting into our strategic planning process, because we have very limited funding sources and we have a very large budget. So if you cut one, you're going to have to increase somewhere else. But that's something we can talk about as we develop the strategic plan. And that relates into an earlier discussion we had about whether or not we need to continue to add facilities or eliminate facilities.
Here. Thank you, Barry. I second that too, because I think if we're really struggling, maybe we need to pump the brakes a little bit on adding some facilities.
Okay. I do agree. I think that's something we probably need to look a little closer at. And I know Nellie and the FAC had been looking at that for quite a while. So this is something probably we need to really take a serious look at. Okay.
Any member comments besides Kathy's?
Does anybody out there need to comment? Nancy? No.
Move to adjourn?
Is there a second to adjourn?
Second.
Oh. Jody or Lanny? Lanny had his hand up, but I heard Jody first.
Always.
Okay, all in favor of adjourning the meeting, and thank you for your comments. I learned a lot. Please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Unanimous. So the meeting is adjourned at whatever time? 2:54. Adjourned.
Everybody.
Thank you. Thank you for all your intelligent comments. Christy, Chris, thank you. Thank you.